All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so make sure to stay tuned. We've got, first off, 100,000 citizens ready and queuing up to go join Putin. Why I believe that this is going to happen is because this is the overall kind of optics of this war, is that Kim Jong-un is actually going to help. And if you think about this, if anywhere close to 100,000 or 10,000 or another 20,000 of these North Koreans join the fight, then that means they are going to get paid for it, most likely in cash or in technology. So let's go over to it. It said the North Korean troops claim that they're ready to jump into Putin's war in Ukraine at any moment, with a rough figure of 100,000 people being mentioned by military experts. They said thousands of troops are queuing up to get into Ukraine to fight on the front lines for Putin, claims sources. Previously, Kim Jong-un had sent forces to the Kursk region, who carried out a successful mission in the Kursk region. Essentially, what that means for North Koreans is a lot of funerals. According to an expert, more than 100,000 North Korean citizens are ready to go to Ukraine at any moment, just waiting for the call to go into the front line. And I'm assuming that's also waiting for them to be forced into the front line. Latest South Korean intelligence shared the figures with Russian military expert Andrei Klintsevich, adding that we like these numbers. They can greatly speed up many processes. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. This is the small story of the day. So stick around. We will be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right. Lots and lots of great people in the chat. Hey, thank you so much. Of course, Scrappy Dabby do see her thing. Kimbria, Bobby Sue, our wonderful mod, is here already. Eileen, I don't know if I saw you yet here today, but thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jan Turner, and so many more. Let's get into it. All right. Before we do, let's of course bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, obviously, you have 100,000. They say 100,000 citizens, and some are calling them that they're basically going to mobilize 100,000 troops for Putin. Well, it's kind of crazy because you think about it, and if he needs that, everybody, no matter how much ammunition and stuff you're making, Dex, people are a resource that really can't just be, reproduced, and at least not that fast. You kind of have to wait 30 or 25 years for people to grow. So they can, of course, pay mercenaries, but that costs a lot of money. So I just wonder, it's like, how cheap is it to get a human being's life from North Korea? Like, what do they trade? Obviously, North Korea's gotten some new technology out of this. They've probably gotten money. I wonder how much they have valued each one of these North Koreans' lives at. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and not just that. Are they going to come armed, or does Russia have to supply them? And what's the mechanism by which they're going to transport them? It's not like, North Korea is flush with cash. They're constantly, stealing crypto so they can keep their country afloat and build more nukes. So, how are they physically going to move 100,000 troops? Like, what systems do they have? What type of and are they going to arm them? Those are the first two questions that came to my mind. It's one thing to say you're sending 5,000 people. That's a handful of many planes back and forth. And you could probably do that with some commercial airlines. But once you start getting into 100,000, you're dealing with a lot of people. It's a lot of food. It's a lot of support. It's a lot of medical. It's a lot of firearms or whatever. And it's a lot of training.
And that's the other thing. This is giving actual experience to North Koreans. The North Koreans, by the way, if you haven't seen their training, they've modeled it after some of the craziest kind of training of some of the countries. But you can train as much as you want. You could be able to swing around a chain with a freaking knife on it and take out a bottle cap 50 feet away, and it will look cool on video. But will it actually transfer over to actual fighting experience? So when the U.S. military comes with special operations that can peg you from 2 miles away, and you're sitting there spinning a chain going, yeah, or breaking an ice block on your chest, that's not really that useful. Trust me, I tried. But you guys get my drift. These guys are getting fighting experience, and that is worth something. And then Nvidia's new $3,500 AI brain. Now, this isn't for you to just go buy spend $3,000, $500, because that's about the same, I think, as like the Apple Vision Pro or whatever. But this is for developers and for companies to buy. $3,500 sounds like a lot, but it's actually not in the scheme of this. This is like mass production, scalability for an AI brain that would go into robots. Dex, we barely got to talk about this before the show, but this is terrifying for me. If you've watched my show for any amount of time, anytime we cover the robot stuff, you guys know I want to go back to the 80s. Like, I want to go back to Stranger Things, before cell phones. I would rather not get rid of all technology. Like, I like TV and radio and stuff. I just don't like cell phones a lot, which is ironic considering what you're watching me on right now. But as far as this goes, this is something that is going to change our world, especially even this story. This is probably going to be one of these things that we look back in history and is one of the biggest kind of step-ups up there. It's a brain that will control a robot.
This will be the first step, probably in what most will think as the Terminator days, when those robots are running around and controlling everything. And it's not necessarily that this first chip will be it, but this is the first chip that's setting us in that direction. And the reason why this is important, what they're trying to do, or the challenge they have, I mean, they can build robots. We've seen them. They've proven that. They got robots that can do gymnastics and climb over fences and do all sorts of crazy things and kick soccer balls and fall over and look like they're, can't walk. They can do all sorts of great things and all sorts of silly things that don't really work. And they're still working out those kinks. But the challenge is not just the mechanical movements. It is putting the brain power, if you want to call it that, inside the mechanism. And right now, the vast amount of brain power that we have in a computer is AI, and it's not in a computer, it's in the cloud. So you have to go talk to ChatGPT or to Grok or to whatever. And that inference is happening up in the cloud. And unless you have a very, very big, powerful computer, can you actually get a usable amount of AI functionality to happen, say, in your home on your own workstation? That's not typical. Most people don't do that. Just developers do. What they have done is they have taken a version of their chip, made it 7.5 times faster for AI, reduced the power on it so it doesn't take a lot of power. And it is going to be the first model that will allow them to run a lot of these AI type instances inside a robot, as opposed to having to go to the cloud. So they like to make you think of it as a nice, neat way of saying, hey, what if we took a robot that, had the seasoned foreman, the safety officer, the navigator, and put them into a hard hat role. They could have all of those roles wrapped up in the brain, and the brain could have the AI computing power to deal with all of those types of roles and be able to function correctly. So it feels good. Yeah, I'd take those jobs away. It feels good. That's not going to come after us and take over the planet. But ultimately, this is that step in the direction. And yeah, $3,500 is so a developer can start building it. But once you commit to 1,000 or so chips, whatever it is, they're like $2,000 a chip after that, or $3,000 a chip. And you can put them into your production.
What was that chip called again? It had a funky name. Did you say?
Oh, it's called the Jetson Thor.
Yeah, that's right.
So they had to play off the Jetsons name. But this is NVIDIA's new robot brain, Jetson Thor.
And so take an Optimus Bud. They probably have their proprietary one or whatever. But what if you did team up something like that? And so this would be a brain that would be able to tell it and to multitask, to do all that. Like you said, think about the jobs that it will replace. You could have 4 or 5 very, very high-skilled jobs that it could have in its programming like it's nothing. I mean, if you think of the movie The Matrix, where in the movie they would just basically hook themselves up and download something and have it. Well, that's what these can actually do. And when you actually get to the point where these robots are so nimble and can actually do the things that humans can do, well, it's going to make obsolete human beings. And that's the thing, China, its big, moneymaker is their labor. Everyone ships their labor out to China and things to make. And this is actually a good reason why people should understand that a war is coming. In fact, there was a comment there. Let me see if I can still see that. Let's see here. Thank you guys. Thanks for the support. Samuel Turner, China attacks next month. I will say this. I believe 26 or 27, if they could attack next month. But I believe in the next 2 years, that's what we're preparing for. Bases like Edwards Air Force Base are preparing for a Pearl Harbor style attack. So if you don't believe me, go look that up. So that's something that I worry about. They say about the weather, the water conditions, all of that. I don't know. But what I will say is when you have things like this is the future. And China knows that this is the future. The reason why China manufactures a lot of this stuff is because they have people that will do the things that we don't want to do. I mean, it's almost become a meme. China, we showed you probably 4 or 5 months ago how they were making fun of us, how they made this AI video of these big fat Americans with McDonald's on the desk, putting together little tiny screws in a factory. And it is kind of humorous because it's not going to happen, right? The companies don't want to pay that big fat American or even a regular size American $25 an hour to do it when they can pay somebody $4 an hour or $1 an hour in peanuts to make it over in China. Well, that's not going to happen. When you have robots like this that can sit on a production line and build the tiniest things, and who knows, you could have an attached hands. We're thinking of a humanized robot. You could have a robot like this that has a rotating human hand to grab things, and then it rotates and it has a tiny microscopic thing that could make microchips. That's the thing. That's what's coming. And this will be able to do all of that. This is superhuman. I mean, this is unbelievable stuff that they'll be able to do with this. And this is one of the first steps in history. This AI brain will end up, speeding things up 100,000x. And when we do this, it is going to obsolete countries like China. Their main moneymaker is going to be gone in a matter of years. Why do you think that they are now putting all of their money into military? That is how they are going to be the most powerful in the world, and that's how they think that they are going to take that number one spot, by force. If you don't realize what kind of corner they're in right now, then I'd highly recommend to look into it. Thank you. By the way, lots of folks, thank you guys for supporting. We've had to go 25 days this month without any kind of shows, so we really do appreciate it. Big John 1974, thank you. All Consuming Jaws High Tech Computers LLC, thank you. And then thank you, Jan Turner, for gifting out 10 badges using basically your super to gift to other Foogle family members. Thank you guys. Thanks for being members. And then Cliff High Anxiety Release Prediction Metrics say that this October is going to be wild, one of the months that Xi can successfully attack Taiwan. Stephen McMahon, I agree with you, and they say the conditions really do matter. But I think it's going to be next year. But watch, I could be wrong. And then Jonathan Floming and everybody else that has already popped in, make sure to drop an M in the chat for all of the mods that made it. All right, and then...
And Adam, real quick, on your point about these robots being able to do crazy things, the other thing to consider is when you look at the push to bring manufacturing back to America, this is the answer to it. Is, we need the ability for these jobs to be performed, but not be done by American human labor, because American human labor is too expensive. You can't afford to pay people to turn screws in iPhones. And put the screens in them on an assembly line like you can in China. So this has a dual purpose, and when you think about it from an economic standpoint, this is going to can potentially have a major impact against China's manufacturing, because all of a sudden, if we can get this type of advanced AI robotics in production into manufacturing capabilities in America, that will reduce our dependency on China's manufacturing. And then it'll also allow us to onshore everything that we want to do. So there's obviously a lot of benefits, but there's also a whole lot of scary sides to these AI robot brain chips, as you want to call them, or Jetson Thor.
So one thing that has been pointed about India, the Made in India program, I forgot if they call it a program or the initiative, the Made in India initiative. India is trying to take all of the companies from China. They're saying, hey, we can make it over here. We'll try to do it for the same price. We will try to scale up to try to match them. They cannot match them right now. We showed you the numbers. They can do like 5% of what China can do because China already has the infrastructure up to build and to manufacture. India does have a good manufacturing kind of side setup, and they have the human labor. They have 1.4 billion people too. Heck, if you have 1.4 billion people, you probably have cheap labor. But at the same time, they could scale up. They don't have to match China if this technology comes forward and starts manufacturing everything. So you won't have to match it. You'll just have to get closer. And then whatever these robots can't do in the next couple years, the Indians over in India could do. Thank you.
Yeah, the majority of the iPhones in August, as of August, early August this year, are coming from India now. They took up 20% earlier in the year, and now they're going to go to the majority of them. So that's an interesting one because it doesn't require as much shipping, right? You're dealing with a small item, and it can be shipped on an airplane. Whereas you think about all the other larger manufacturing that comes out, it's got to go across the sea. It's got to get on the, China just has invested so much in the ports, so much in their rails, so much in their trucking and transportation. Like they have a juggernaut for manufacturing of large items and shipping them out to the globe. But something like the iPhone, India was able to pick that up completely.
Yeah, they can get anything around the country in a very, very short amount of time. They can get resources, and they have all of these markets set up in China. It's just it's insane to actually understand it. Itchy Ender, thank you for gifting out 5 badges. I appreciate that. And Susie Gray Reynolds, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then satellite images show China parading weapons capable of U.S. strikes. Now, this is open source information, and this is the kind of stuff that you are able to access. And this is what, what's her face? Sarah Adams was talking about on the Sean Ryan Show. These are the kind of open source info that people can access and can get through these kind of third-party groups and things like this. And this third-party group is saying that they are preparing to showcase their latest anti-ship missiles, combat drones, and nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in a parade aimed at demonstrating its military prowess and perhaps attracting potential buyers. Satellite imageries, and remember, China is competing with the U.S. on everything. I mean, even underwater cables, they're essentially, we've done an underwater cable between these 3 countries. They're doing one, and they're saying, hey, ours doesn't come with NSA. They're literally trying to undercut us on almost everything across the planet. Satellite imagery of a staging ground for the September 3rd parade shows scores of weapons that will most likely roll through the streets of Beijing. The pictures taken August 9th from an Airbus satellite show armored vehicles, air defense systems, artillery pieces, including rocket launchers and cruise missiles, according to the analysts at Open Nuclear Network in Vienna who specialize in open source intelligence. The new People's Liberation Army weapons incorporate cutting-edge technologies such as hypersonic systems to increase the chances of defeating shipborne air defense systems that are clearly developed with the aim to suppress the U.S. Navy in the Western Pacific. And when you combine this with all of the actions they have taken in the last 2 months, including passing island lines and passing these lines that they have never passed before, including with their carriers. Their carrier strike groups are now practicing in deep oceans. They are coming our way. This is something that really should alarm people. And I don't think that next month they will have time to get this all together. But the way that they've been practicing, the way that they've been drilling, the way that they've been coming closer and closer, I do believe that they are going to meet us in the ocean. They are going to take Taiwan at the same time as trying to take on the U.S. Navy. But that's the thing. People go, well, our Navy will just kick their ass. That's why they have come out with all of these technologies to try to suppress us in every way possible. Knock out our satellites, find our ships. That's a huge deal. If they can instantly find our ships and then instantly try to take out our ships. If they can find our stealth planes, which they just said that they can now track the actual exhaust from almost any plane and, basically find it almost instantly by finding the exhaust and the exact temperature that that plane puts out. There's things like that. And then the sensors in the water. We're doing the same. The United States, China is claiming that we have put these sensors all around the ocean and that it's a network of some sort and they don't know what it is. So there's a lot going on right now that says that we're preparing for a massive showdown. And I believe it's going to be a showdown in the water, but it's very well could have things that go along with that. So say you have events kick off in Russia, with Russia and NATO. You have Iran and Israel. You have Venezuela and Guyana. You have Cuba and Nicaragua and all of these other places just all of a sudden kick off things where U.S. military is needed. That's something that you got to pay attention to. And then all of their allies, all of these countries that are joining BRICS, a lot of these countries are actually siding with Russia and China. So they are coming up with a back system to essentially work after the dollar is gone. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen, especially for us here in the United States. But I wouldn't underestimate our enemies. That's a dumb thing to do. All right, now before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, EMP Shield is one of the quickest and most affordable ways to not only protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, your generators, solar and gas-powered, but it can also protect your home against lightning and other any kind of shocks that would come your way. As far as the EMP protection on this, that means that if we have an EMP or multiple EMPs hit the United States and you're at work 40 miles from home, most likely 40 miles from home because of the inflation and crazy prices on rent. But if you're 40 miles from home, how are you going to get home? People in Seattle have been told if Cascadia subduction zone happens, be ready to walk 25 miles, be ready to walk 50 miles. Something like that happens. Are you going to be able to get back to your family? No, especially if every car after like 1980 is dead. So this is something you definitely want to look into. It's going to mean that you're going to be mobile when no one else is. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use code MARF. Not only that, it turns your home into one of those expensive surge protectors. Only every single outlet in your house within 250 linear feet of where it's wired in is going to be protected. So you don't have to buy those expensive surge protectors. Your house will be it. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that supports our independent show, and of course, it gets you prepared. All right. And Dex, let's go over Ukraine. Knocks out a huge chunk of Russia's oil.
All right. So this is a big deal in the sense that, this is Russia's moneymaker. The oil, the natural gas are the two things that they can still semi-trade. They do have some restrictions on the dollar amounts they can get, but it's the one thing that funds the war. Ukraine has significantly intensified its attacks against Russia's energy sector over the past few weeks, inflicting significant losses. Recent strikes on 10 Russian oil refineries have reportedly disrupted at least 17% of all capacity. That's equivalent to 1.1 million barrels per day. That's something that's pretty significant when you think about repercussions and you think about, if it's a simple fix and they're down for a couple of days and they get it back up and running, then maybe it's not that big of a deal. But if they have an impact of losing that much oil for a decent amount of time because of a drone strike around these refineries, that's something I can easily see escalating at a much higher level with Putin. And you'll probably see additional retaliations and or needs to escalate because this is going to hit them where it really counts, like the finances and the money. They're not rich. Russia's not making a ton of money, but they spend a lot, if not almost all of everything right now on their military industrial complex because they're in wartime economy and they need every penny they can to supply and support themselves, not only for what they're doing in Ukraine, but what they're preparing for the rest of Europe.
Yeah, and It is my opinion that this is, of course, going to go way further than Ukraine. And they've said this, and now because mainstream media has said it, many in our community don't believe that's going to happen. But I'm saying it in a way that they've been pushing for this, the NATO warhawks, and of course Ukraine, which is a puppet of somebody's. They're going to force this into it because somebody has an agenda way bigger than this. And I don't know, it's not a single somebody, it's a group. Groups that we have no idea, who it even consists of. But we know they've been working in the shadows this whole time. You try to tell somebody that, they go, oh, that sounds nuts. Well, look at the weird nuts things that these extremely rich people do. They go in a campground and do weird rituals. That's confirmed. So just think about how the truth is stranger than fiction. It almost always is. All right, and then we have Putin's nuclear offer to Trump, arms control, and even suggesting that China could join in too. So they're saying essentially what we used to have, or something like it, where, we would have some sort of agreement to, not make new weapons or this or that. To suggest that China would, pop in on this, though, is kind of silly. China is trying to catch up. They are very, very behind, and who knows how fast they will be able to catch up. But I don't think are going to buy into this either. It's more like empty news, right? Because I don't think this being said even means anything. U.S. President Donald Trump said that he had discussed nuclear arms control with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the summit in Alaska, and that China should be involved too, with the ultimate aim of denuclearization. What Putin offered Trump on nuclear weapons and what he might offer. It said Russia, the United States, and China are undertaking major modernizations of their nuclear arsenals, just as the last remaining nuclear arms control treaty, signed in an attempt to reduce the risk of nuclear war, is poised to expire. Russia has about 4,300 stockpiled and deployed nuclear warheads, and the United States has about 3,700, a total of about 87% of the world's total inventory, according to research by the Federation of American Scientists. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, which caps the number of strategic nuclear warheads that the United States and Russia can deploy, and that deployment of land, submarine-based missiles, and bombers deliver them, is due to run out on February 5th of 2026. But that's the thing. As far as the modernization and taking new ones and recycling them into extremely dangerous new ones, this is something that's been going on for a long time, and they're talking about some sort of agreement. Dex, this seems like an empty gesture. I mean, it does not seem like any of these countries wants to meet. And one thing I want to say about their meeting, people think that almost anything suggested like this kind of means that it will happen, because a lot of people are talking about how well they get along. Well, you're talking about a guy who is KGB. I'm sure he can befriend almost anybody, even if they don't speak the same language. This is basically a equivalent of a CIA guy that could essentially infiltrate something and go in and make friends with people. So when you see him and Trump getting along, that's almost more unnerving to me, especially considering his past. They could be having fun and joking around, but they could be doing that on purpose. Putin could be making Trump feel comfortable, and Trump could be sitting there in the White House ready to push a button that he needs to push and say, you know what, I don't think Putin will do this. And no, he's a good guy, he's smart, he won't do this. But what if that's exactly the thought he wants somebody to have?
The alternative is we had a president before who wouldn't even talk to him. So we had zero discussion, and ignoring, and just completely funding the opposition for war against him. So
because they were trying to start it.
Trying to start it. Either one, either way is not necessarily a good place. But I would probably err on the side of at least having some form of communication, because it's better to know your enemy than have no clue what's going on. Even if they are going to try to fool you, I just hope you don't get fooled. But look, nuclear disarmament, or at least some sort of denuclearization would be ideal. I just don't see it happening anytime soon, especially because China has zero intention of sitting back in third place when it comes to nukes. They want to be either on par or above, and they're not going to get involved. And I can't imagine that either side would say they would participate if they can't have China participate because they're going to use that as an excuse. If China's allowed to make them, then we're going to make them. That's the way I look at it, and I think it's silly because we've got probably more nukes than we know what to do with, and it'd be much better spent building other things. But um, it is what it is. It's the world we live in at the moment.
Speaking of the world we live in, lots of great people like High Tech Computers LLC says, glad you're back. We missed y'all. Hope what it looks like isn't going to happen, but the tipping point is here. I agree. And then Big John 1974, thank you. Stephen McMahon, thank you. And then Eden's Vision, thank you. And then a big, huge thank you to Samuel Turner 9957. Get coffee on me. Hey, thank you for the support, and it probably won't be a hot coffee. Again, we're having this heat wave. It's supposed to be another whole week of hot weather. Dex, you said before the show you looked up the percentage of people that have AC in this state. What did you find it was?
I heard a stat when they were talking about your heat wave. They said like half of everybody in Washington does not have air conditioning. Like 50% of the people don't have air conditioning.
And that's why we're not set up for it. I mean, if you look at the joke, the running joke about Seattle, is if you go to the Space Needle, I'm sure they still have this. It's 4 pictures of Seattle, the summer, spring, fall, winter, and it's all the same picture, and it's Seattle with the gray sky. We just have this rain 24/7. We've got that moody, cold, 60 degrees all year round type of thing. But this last few years, it has been wild. And everybody talks about the great change of the weather. Who's to say it's not because they're putting frequencies out there or something, right? But as far as the last few years, it's been crazy. I mean, we could cook eggs on the sidewalk a couple years ago, and instantly. That just a few years ago, we had an 117 or 118 degree temperature at my old house. And then inside my car, it was like 145 degrees to the point where I think after it hit the peak, and then the digital thermometer just did 3 lines because it only went up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's just been getting so hot, and this is a little shack. There's no ventilation, and there's no like bird blocks or anything in here, and it just gets so freaking hot. I've had to hose this down every day. Today, I wasn't here, so I wasn't able to like put cold water on the outside of it. So it is way hotter in here. I mean, you can see I'm glistening. Look at this. I've probably lost 2. Look at this. It is, it's a big sliding glass door. So I don't think, what do you do if you only have like a big sliding glass door? You can't do those portable things unless you build a piece of wood, right? Like if I was going to put a temporary AC out here, but even then it's like I can't run it during the show because it's so loud.
Yeah, and the irony, Adam, is here in Georgia, where I'm at, August is like our worst, hottest month ever. It's like super sweltry. It's, humidity and, high heat and all that. And this August, it's been the coolest we've ever had. I mean, like lake waters and pool waters have, dropped 10 degrees to the point where people don't want to get in it. Because where it's normally like, we want to get in it to cool off. It's like freezing now.
Oh my, yeah, I hate
it's
you.
Crazy. And I mean, I'm kind of, on one hand, it's kind of nice, but at the same time, it's like we weren't ready for summer to be over, and it feels like fall.
Well, so if all of a sudden for 3 months straight it was super, super cold or 40 degrees, you guys wouldn't be acclimated to that. Or some hot state like Arizona being, winter conditions for 3 months.
If we have severe winter for a long time, it's hard because here, like, we have heat pumps, which are good enough for our winters. Like, we occasionally get snow. We have all 4 seasons, but we don't have deep freeze. So we run heat pumps, which are great for energy efficiency for air conditioning and okay for heat. But they just can't get really hot. So if it gets really cold, a heat pump can't keep up.
And there's so many people in hotter states that are like, oh, it's 85 degrees. Like, oh, we have 100-degree weather all the time. It's a combination of many things. Like, I remember the first time I went to Colorado for a family reunion when I was a kid, how you could set out where we were. You could set out your clothes, and they'd be sopping wet, and they'd be dry in a matter of minutes, like faster than a dryer, because of, I think, the humidity or the lack of humidity. It was. If it's humid, how would your clothes dry? A lack of humidity or a lot of humidity? I think a lack. Yeah. It was just so uncomfortable for somebody here. When your bodies are acclimated to the environment around you like that, you're just not ready for it. My brain's been fried for this whole last week because of the heat. I know people in Arizona with 115 degree temperatures are laughing at me, but where you live, there's ACs in everything. You go in an ATM vestibule, they have AC. Here, half the stores don't have AC. Heck, I went to get a haircut. It was like 105 degrees in the freaking Great Hairmasters or whatever, because they don't have AC, which is pretty stupid. But yeah. And then we have Japan protests China's installation of this structure in the East China Sea. And when I first saw this, I don't know why I had this backwards, that China is usually the one that is protesting a structure or anything that Japan is doing in their waters, or at least the waters they're claiming is theirs. But they're saying that China is building a new structure in waters between the two countries in the East China Sea. It says it has lodged protest with China. China's unilateral construction of structures is taking place despite a 2008 agreement that, of course, in which the two countries' governments agreed on a joint gas field development in the area. However, negotiations on the implementation of the deal have now stalled. So they said the ministry on Monday said it confirmed a new Chinese structure is under construction on the Chinese side of a median line between the two countries. Director General of the Japanese Foreign Ministry Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau, Kanai Masaki, issued a protest to a senior diplomat from the Chinese embassy in Tokyo. The Japanese official called China's unilateral activities extremely regrettable and demanded that Beijing return to the stalled negotiations. So this structure, they're showing, in this thing, they're showing like this looks like an oil rig, right? Dex, they haven't said what this thing is, but it could be some sort of weaponized platform or defense thing or something else. It looks a lot like an oil platform, but what the hell is it?
Yeah, it looks like some sort of drilling platform, probably for, like you said, oil or gas, depending on what they're exploring there.
It makes me wonder, though, could you take something that looks like an oil platform and then put something else on there too? Surveillance or something else? Or would that be too obvious? I just wonder.
Well, I think it's more
the
as soon
position.
as they claim it and they claim the position, now they can protect it. And now they can bring their patrol boats out and say, well, we're protecting the structure of gas. And, oh, by the way, we're going to put 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 more here. And now we have a reason to patrol these waters. And now they claim territory. I think it's probably more important for them to put infrastructure in that they then have a right to protect, as opposed to necessarily just putting something structured that's military wise, right? This is more important to protect assets.
And if this is the Japanese Ministry of Defense photo, it looks like they're done. I mean, we only started hearing about this now, but how fast was this thing put up? I just wonder. When you have a construction like this that's out in the middle of the ocean, this must have been a while in the making, right? Or do they have these in giant chunks that ships bring and they can put it together relatively quick?
No, they float those. They can float those things out, and all they got to do
then
is
raise
anchor
them
down to the ground. Yeah, they float them out, anchor them down, raise up the pylons below, and then start drilling.
Wow. So I just if this is the state of it, then it's built. So good luck trying to get them to take this thing down. This is going to cause a lot of beef between China and Japan. And Japan is going to be one of their worst enemies in the next war. I'm glad that they're on our side this time, that's for sure. And then Ray the Way says, contrary to the brief, Russia still sends us updates about their nuclear tests. Optics is what civilians see, unfortunately. Well, no, I'm pretty sure... Well, yeah, every country, well, even our adversaries, they're smart about that because they don't want us to send a nuke. If Russia does a nuclear test, it's going to look like a nuclear weapon being fired, so they usually call ahead. I mean, isn't it pretty much every one of our adversaries that has nukes has told us there's none that don't, right? Except for maybe North Korea. I mean, even North Korea, I thought, kind of gives them sort of a heads up. They didn't 10 years ago, but they have now. I wonder. And then Eden's Vision, great investment is The shark fan, best ever owned. Is that the as seen on TV one? Well, if it's quiet, I would use it. But unfortunately, most fans are loud. Heck, the light above me, you might be able to hear it. It has a fan in it, which I did not know. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out Jase. This is an easy and great service to know about, especially because this is an easy way to talk to a board-certified doctor via your cell phone, tablet, or other device and quickly get a discrete kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. So as far as the normal ones that you might need, and you can even go over and check out their add-on list. There's an add-on list that have things on there like albuterol. Say you have an asthmatic in the house, and you can say, hey, add that in, and then you'll have it in your emergency kit. It is called the Jase case, and it has all of these, all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. But you can also look into a service called Jase Daily, which if you know somebody that has a lot of prescriptions, this might be something for you if you want to prepare for any kind of event where you might not be able to get to the hospital, where the hospital's pharmacies might not be working, or bridges collapse, or there's a hurricane, an earthquake, something that makes it inaccessible. This is an actual system where you can get up to a year of your regular prescription sent to you all at one time. Then you just rotate your regular prescription into it. You'll always have an extra year of prescriptions. Obviously, it doesn't work for all prescriptions. Probably, not all of them are on that list, but a lot of them are. And some of them we've found are even cheaper than if you go and get your regular one a month at a time. So go to marfooglenews.com/Jase, Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that helps us out. It gets you a fat discount, and again, it gets you ready. All links are in the description for any of these affiliates. If you get lost or forget the names, make sure to go check it out. All right. And then Navy officer says underwater UFOs are legitimate threats. The evidence is hard to ignore. I want to do a quick survey. Dex, can we do an actual chat survey real quick? I was going to see how many people think that these kind of stories are thrown out there for distractions. Like, I know that a lot of us, and I know that it's a giant percentage that believe in UFOs, or at least believe in something out there, whether they be UFOs or angels above us, that believe there's something going on that can't be explained. But as far as when there's stories like this, and it's been the last 5-6 years that there's always a UFO story coming out. How many of you believe this is a distraction, or that these are thrown out there? Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily this one, but in general, do you think that the UFO stories in all of mainstream media is a distraction? Yes or no, or a mix of the two? Because I honestly think when you hear this kind of stuff, it's just like most people prefer to focus on this kind of story rather than actually people basically shut out the bad stuff. They don't want to know that China might be crossing over and sending carriers our way. They might not want to know that Russia and NATO will be going to war. They would rather think about that UFO story and talk about that at work tomorrow rather than the other stuff. See, we here are different. I know all of you guys are following the news every single day, and you're watching. You're waiting. You guys are the watchers. But most people latch onto this stuff. Now, UFOs fascinate me, but, with stuff like this, it's just, it really makes you wonder. Let's see here. I'm going to go to the top chat here. A mix. A lot of mixes. Yes, a lot of people think it's a distraction. 79% so far think it is a distraction. Yes or no? Wow, that's a pretty big chunk. Wages. Hey, nice to see you. I shouted you out last night. I don't think you made it, but I just said I missed you, man. I know that obviously 25 days without shows and gatherings, that it's not fun. Shastina, thank you so much. Selected yes, but I think it's a mixed. I think that there's some that are pretty crazy. And my guess is the ones that you don't really see covered much, those are the ones that are probably the more realistic ones. But yeah, he says that the evidence is hard to ignore. In mid-2014, during training flights off the coast of Virginia Beach, Virginia, FA-18 pilot and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves began to notice something strange. The radar returns looked off. Phantom blips moving with unfathomable speed and precision. At first, he dismissed it as a glitch, but then the anomalies returned, recorded by the fighter jet's sophisticated sensors. They would hover in place, and then they would dart away at supersonic speeds. They were recorded from the ocean surface to about 40,000 feet. So we've seen this, and we've covered this before, where they say an object is right above the water, and then it shoots up, goes as high as a plane in just a matter of seconds. Sometimes stationary, 0 Mach, other times 250 to 350 knots, sometimes even supersonic, so over a Mach, 1.2 Mach. All altitudes and always over the ocean. So this goes to the theory that actually we have UFOs here, and if they were able to and had the technology, what would stop them from going out in the middle of the ocean to where most humans don't even want to go with the biggest boats and having some sort of base down at the bottom? I mean, if you've ever seen the movie Abyss, that's kind of the plot line, right? Well, it's been around for a long time. Since I've been alive, people have been thinking that possibly our ocean hides a greater, more darker kind of side to it. After appearing only as glitches on the jet's radar, the objects on one occasion finally came into view. Graves reported seeing a dark gray, black cube inside of a clear sphere between 5 and 15 feet in diameter, coming within 50 feet of their jets. That was the turning point, he said. We started treating it as a safety issue. Over the next year, Graves' squadron recorded sightings of unidentified objects almost daily. Sometimes objects flew in loose formations. Other times they traveled alone. They had no exhaust, no visible propulsion, no wings, and sometimes the object would rotate in place. Others vanished when approached. As it turned out, pilots stationed off the West Coast on missions aboard the USS Nimitz and USS Princeton and other carriers had been experiencing similar things for years. So, and this hasn't gone away, but the reports of them have gone up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and a month ago, we covered that some of these experts had come out saying that this was Lockheed Martin technology, especially the Tic Tacs that were happening. So I think the real question is not like UFO little green men flying in and out of the water, but is this, are we starting to see, in our reports of new technology that we have available, Skunk Works or whatever, being exposed in some way to, our military or others that are in the ocean? Because the ocean's a good place to hide. It's a good place to test. It's a good place to, be away from eyeballs, or as many eyeballs as you could possibly be away from. So, and then again, if you've got like some sort of new technology that can traverse gravity and other things, then does that mean it can go anywhere from space to the air to the water? That's some pretty amazing tech if that's what they really have. And of course, if it's all secret, we're not going to know anything about it until they tell us. But that's, I think, the real question, not is it, little green men.
Now, do you remember the beginning of the year, the first day of this year, 8 months ago? Going on 9 months ago, right? Do you remember this guy, Matt Livelsberger? The Green Beret and the main suspect in that Cybertruck boom boom in Las Vegas. Do you remember the manifesto? It said that he was supposedly talking about some sort of technology, of advanced drone technology. I think he said, do you remember what it was called? Anti-gravitational or gravitronal, or does anybody in the chat remember what he called that technology? It was something to do with gravitational stuff. He was basically talking about how they have tech way beyond anything. And that was such an interesting thing when it came to this. GDIC propulsion systems. Gravitational. Anti-gravity technology. And it was so weird because a lot of folks looked at it and said, this kind of looks half legit, right? On the Sean Ryan podcast, Livelsberger claims that the U.S. and China developed and deployed the drones. He alleged that China launched them from submarines along the U.S. East Coast, calling them, quote, the most dangerous threat to national security. Think about that, and think about this story we're reading now, saying that they are seeing these things pop out of the ocean. Well, He alleged that China launched them from submarines along the U.S. East Coast, calling them the most dangerous threat to national security. It's kind of crazy because if you fast forward to this story, he's saying that out of the ocean they're seeing these things fly around. They don't know how they're even getting how their propulsion works, and this is saying about this technology. So kind of weird. Made me think of that, and for good reason. And now it's almost the same quote, but from a pilot who doesn't know what it is. And this guy might have actually known what it was. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. 75% of you have said that you believe the UFO stories are a distraction. Well, no surprise there, and that is 255 votes. So better than an episode of Family Feud. All right, and then thank you, Eden's Vision. Yes, it's quiet, strong. $124 at Walmart. Shark Flex Breeze Indoor Outdoor Oscillating Pedestal Tabletop Cordless Portable Fan. Take it off, put it on the bathroom floor, and a cool breeze after a shower. Eden's Vision. I feel like I'm watching a on TV advertisement, but you just sold me on it. Well, thank you. But I highly doubt Walmart will have it since it's summer and a heat wave. The second a heat wave starts here, every one of our stores is not prepared for it, has not enough, and they're all gone. Heck, good luck even finding an AC unit. I remember when it was... all the power was out all over the place. I could not find a gas-powered generator when mine went out. It was crazy. It's like nobody's prepared, not even the stores, for these kind of things. All right, and then before we go, make sure to go check out Inergy, especially when you can go get yourself one of the best solar generators out there. As far as this is the same generator that the U.S. military is ordering right now. In fact, that's what has put a damper on the civilian side as far as the Flex 1500, their other one that's one step down from this. It's just on pause. If you go, you cannot buy it over there. This one, if they have a batch of it, they will sell it because you don't have to wait. It will just send right out. For 3 years, we were an affiliate with them, and almost all 3 years, people had to wait 5, 6, 7 months for their generators. If you go now, well, they still have them in stock. If it says buy now, that means you will get it, and you'll get it now. It's built straight steel reinforced frame. This thing's built to fall off a freaking Humvee. That's why it won the SBR Phase 2 contract. It also is made and loaded in the United States. You know that it's not going to be hacked, that there's not going to be any kind of backdoor into it or cellular technology or Bluetooth thing that some other country is going to take advantage of. You know that this is going to work when you want it to work. It's built like things used to be built. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle because that's not only going to get you a discount, but they also absolutely know that a lot of the Marfoogle fam with previous orders have had issues. They're going to prioritize, make sure to get you that as fast as they can. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. All right. And Dex, so many just absolutely crazy things are going on right now. You know, it's a blessing to have this group of people, and I'm really glad to be back, frankly.
Oh, totally glad to be back. Even with all the hiccups, it'll just get better as time goes. Hopefully the heat will not be an issue much longer. I know you're in for a bit of a heat wave there for the next week or so. But look, you know, lots of things happening. If you didn't check out the short we did over on news, make sure you go take a look at that, especially as we moved both a cruiser and a sub now on to Venezuela's doorstep, along with all the other movements that have been happening down there. So things are about to get spicy in South America and in Central America area as it relates to, you know, the Mexican cartels and the Venezuelan, terrorist groups, as they're now being labeled, and what we may be doing there soon. So if you missed that, go check it out.
And that's the thing. You have a full bibliography over at our website. You can actually go search, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you can actually see any show from, as far back as 5 or 6 years. And you can actually go look up the show that you heard the story on. If you remember an article, you can actually then go access the article from that and be able to show it to your friends or family. There's just type in muckraker, boom, and you'll find the show, and then once you go to that show, you can go boom and go down to the links, and you'll find Muckraker. See? Then you've got the video evidence of all the guys coming in. It's a great resource. Not a lot of people use it like that. It's something that you can freely use as much as you want. Heck, if you're a YouTuber, use it for yours. You can then go grab the source from an older story. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Massive support tonight. Thank you guys for popping back in. Hi, I wonder if this martial law type stuff we've seen in major cities is preparing for an invasion. Ray the Way, I have already said it. I said that everybody should be looking at this as look at the potential other option. There's the two politicized narratives. What if it's a third? What if the same cities that all these people went to, these sanctuary cities, what if those are the same cities technically housing these people that were not the families looking for a better life? The 18 to 25-year-old military fatigue wearing, buzz cut wearing people that came into our country, where do you think they went? Where do you think that they were allowed to go and even given assistance to go and set up and even places to meet? That's the thing. So I would look at this and look at what's going on. They are actually deploying National Guard to multiple cities, and they're saying it's for crime. I don't quite believe it. I know there's a lot of crime. Is this going to be his legacy, cleaned up two cities? Or do they have intelligence that those two cities are preparing for something? Or that there's the Sarah Adams thing is legit and there's 1,000 people across the country that are going to do something? I mean, really look at it. Look at what we're preparing for, and you'll see that that's the most likely scenario. So they don't willy-nilly, start these projects that can last 100 years unless they're really thinking it is possibly going to be used. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you for all the support. Dex, I am going to have a hard time figuring out who's top supporter tonight. I don't know if we can figure that out, but Stephen McMahon, thank you so much. I believe Samuel Turner is definitely top supporter tonight. So thank you so much, Samuel Turner. And again, thank you guys. Make sure to join us over on the Shoutro. Thank you guys. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother. Good night, everybody.
All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the Shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It is a Shoutro. If you want to join us, you'll be ported over if you stay in the chat. Otherwise, if you're watching a replay, have a good night.